show. Oh, I have with me. Okay, so I have. Am I audible right now, Pritya? Pritya, am I audible to you?
Yes, now you are.
Okay, I'm very sorry about this delayed start, but we are right now here to discuss about the second T20I. हमने फर्स्ट T20I में देखा कि कैसे आप जीता हुआ मैच हार सकते हैं और अब हम सेकेंड T20I में होप करेंगे कि हम ऐसा कुछ देखने को मिले जहां से हम इंडिया टीम को वापसी करते हुए देखें। बट उसके लिए ये जानना बहुत जरूरी है प्रत्यय कि आज के इस पर्टिकुलर मैच में इंडिया टीम से ऐसे कौन से चेंजेस हैं जो हमें एक्सपेक्ट करने चाहिए सो दैट हम सेकेंड T20 में एक जबरदस्त वापसी कर सके। सो व्हाट आर योर थॉट्स ऑन इट और क्या चेंजेस आप सजेस्ट करना चाहेंगे हमारे इंडियन कैप्टन को कि हमें सेकेंड T20 में वो मदद करें?
See, I think it's a 5 मैच सीरीज और एक मैच हार जाने के बाद में उतना ज्यादा प्रेशर अभी नहीं होगा टीम के ऊपर, लेकिन आई थिंक दैट मेकिंग यशस्वी जायसवाल sit out in the previous game was a bit of a surprise because specifically the kind of IPL he had this year. But that's the problem that the top order we always talk is a very competitive space when it comes to India because there are so many people staking the claim. I think three spinners, you will have to look at the track and decide whether you want to play those many spinners as you went with in Trinidad, because, of course, that was a slow track. I'm expecting something like that on similar lines on this one as well. If you're playing three spinners indeed, then I think that Ishan Kishan is the only way in which you can perhaps make room for Jaiswal. Otherwise, you don't really have any other option. If you are dropping a spinner, maybe Yuzvendra Chahal, because he has been slightly on and off in the recent past. Of course, he is a champion bowler, leading wicket taker for India in the format. So dropping him is not going to be easy. But in this particular format, specifically given the kind of form Kuldeep Yadav has shown throughout the ODI series, even in the previous game, he was economical. Maybe in that kind of a situation, you would perhaps want Yuzvendra Chahal to go out and Yashasvi Jaiswal to come in. But I definitely would want to see Jaiswal batting. Good thing that, yes, they gave the debut to Tilak Verma because, again, a very promising young talent coming on the blocks. And I think that he's a player who can really serve the country for a very long period of time. Very young, showed great composure in the previous game as well. But I think Yashasvi Jaiswal, I think if you have to make your batting look a little deep, because in the previous game we saw Kuldeep Yadav coming in at number 8, so that is not a very likely position to have, playing Kuldeep, Chahal, Mukesh and Arshdeep Singh. If you have 4 number 11s, so that
Yeah,
is not a
right.
very ideal situation to be in. So I think Yashasvi Jaiswal is the only thing, is the only change I see that India might make.
राइट और इस वक्त टॉस हो चुका है और इंडिया ने टॉस जीत करके फैसला लिया है पहले बल्लेबाजी करने का। गुयाना में ये मैच होने वाला है। अब यहाँ की जो पिच है इसके बारे में एक बार देख लेते हैं पिच रिपोर्ट क्या कहती है, बिकॉज टॉस के लिए बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट रहती है जिस तरीके से पिच रिपोर्ट आएगी और जैसा पिच बिहेव करेगी। तो एक बार नजर डालते हैं कि आफ्टर ऑल इतने समय बाद ये मुकाबला यहाँ गुयाना में हो रहा है। एक्सेल जो होस्ट है यानी विंडीज, वो 1 साल बाद ये मुकाबला खेल रहे हैं। द पेसर्स हैव पिक्ड अप 55 विकेट्स एज कंपेयर टू द स्पिनर्स 35 at the venue. The side batting first has 3 games, while chasing teams have won 5 times in 11 T20Is. 3 games ended with नो रिजल्ट। सो बेसिकली जिस भी साइड ने पहले बैटिंग करी है उन्होंने 3 गेम्स जीते, चेजिंग साइड ने 5 टाइम्स जीता है। इंडिया ने टॉस जीतकर अभी बैटिंग का फैसला लिया है। सो हो सकता है कि ये स्टैट यहाँ से चेंज हो जाए या क्या पता इसी के साथ जाए, वी नेवर नो। और उस रिजल्ट के लिए हमें इस पूरे मुकाबले का वेट करना होगा। प्रति आई वुड लाइक टू आस्क, हमने प्रीवियस मुकाबले में जो फर्स्ट T20 आया था वहां पर हमने देखा था तिलक वर्मा को कुछ कुछ 1-2 छक्के लगाते हुए। मुझे पता नहीं उस मुकाबले को देख करके याद आ रहा था कि तिलक वर्मा यही काम मुंबई इंडियंस के लिए भी करते थे, और वो हाईलाइट बन जाती थी कि चलो वो आए, 2-4 छक्के लगाए, और फिर वो ये वही होता था पिछले 2-3 सीजन में कि बस तिलक वर्मा ही रन मार पा रहे और कोई मार नहीं पा रहे। और फर्स्ट T20 में भी यही देखने को मिला हमको कि हमारा जो टॉप ऑर्डर था, मिडिल ऑर्डर था, वो सपोर्ट नहीं कर पाया, और आखिरकार बात फिर लोअर ऑर्डर पे आ गई, और डेफिनेटली हम एक्सपेक्ट नहीं कर सकते उनसे इतना। बट मुझे लगता है कि इज इट समथिंग विद तिलक वर्मा इटसेल्फ, या कुछ काम करना चाहिए उन्हें अपने अराउंड? व्हाट इज एग्जैक्टली हैपनिंग विद हिम? जब भी वो आते हैं, डेब्यू करते हैं, कुछ ना कुछ ऐसा हो ही जाता है।
आई थिंक बहुत बहुत अच्छा टैलेंट उभर के वो आए हैं मुंबई इंडियंस के लिए, जिस तरीके की उन्होंने बल्लेबाजी करी है। बिकॉज इफ यू लुक इन दैट मिडिल ऑर्डर ऑफ मुंबई इंडियंस, दैट हैजंट बीन अ स्पेस जहां पे बहुत ज्यादा बैटर्स अच्छा कर पाए हो। सो इट हैज बीन अ केस ऑफ a very young talent, because he's only 20. There's enough time in front of him, and he has carried that kind of a batting lineup of Mumbai Indians. So he has done a commendable job. Of course, that has led that to translate into his India debut as well. Of course, he would be disappointed with the fact that no other batter alongside him could really chip in and put a hand up, because there were plenty of Mumbai Indians players to start with. There's Ishan Kishan, there is Hardik Pandya, there is Surya Kumar Yadav, now there is Tilak Verma as well. So plenty of Mumbai Indians, camp players actually becoming a part of India, and that has been one franchise which has constantly contributed a lot of players to the nation. So I think Tilak Verma has that reputation as well, that he's coming from Mumbai Indians. If he's coming and he's making his India debut, you generally start to expect a lot from those kind of players, because you've seen a lot of players who have done exceedingly well. Rahul Chahar and a few of the other players are not in the setup currently, but even they have managed to shine bright on the international platform. But I think that yes, you correctly pointed out the manner in which he started, getting off the mark, opening his India account with a six, and quite interestingly, someone who was partnering him at that point of time, Surya Kumar Yadav, having himself done that the iconic six against Jofra Archer, none could forget
Yeah.
that one. So you see that it's of course a format in which you say that you have to shed caution and you have to move aggressively. But when you are just 20, when you're playing for a country like India, where there's so much competition, showing that kind of approach, because we all can talk about fearlessness, but translating that into reality, doing that, and putting your words into execution, putting your planning into execution, that I think is something which the young talents have really been able to do. Because if you look at the kind of performances these youngsters have put in at the IPL, you can say, of course, that they have done well at the IPL, but when it comes to international cricket, we know that it's a different ball game. The nerves are high, and like I said, the reason I'm bringing up his age again and again, because he's just 20. Just, I mean, a year back he was into his teenage. So it's not that he has a load of experience of playing first class cricket, or he is not a veteran of some, in the domestic cricket circuit either. So to come and make your India debut and hit that kind of a stroke, it was a beautiful stroke that he got off the mark. Three sixes in his innings. The first one was the catchiest, I think, for me, and that just kind of makes a statement that he is someone who is looking to take the attack to the opposition. And the manner in which he played, because it was a slowish kind of a track, sluggish sort of a track, it wasn't really easy to hit through the line, and on that kind of a track, to showcase the kind of class he did was absolutely phenomenal. So I think a very promising start. The last 2 years for him at Mumbai Indians have been very successful as well. As I said, that dragging that middle order, and he has been one of the top scorers. Strike rate wise, numbers have been phenomenal for him as well. So I think that if he can continue playing in the same vein, then you would definitely see him playing for very long in India. And not to forget that you have a T20 World Cup. Of course, it's taken the back seat right now because ek
Yeah.
ODI Vishwa Cup wala saal hai ye. But next year, in the same at the same shows of the world, West Indies, USA hosting the 2024 World Cup, I think this is a great audition for him.
राइट, और बहुत ही प्रॉमिसिंग टैलेंट है जिनकी हम लोग बात कर ही रहे थे, बट इनके अलावा और बहुत सारे नाम हैं जो कि काफ़ी प्रॉमिसिंग रहे हैं इंडिया के लिए। और राइट नो मेरे इस जो कमेंट मैंने आपको भी बोला है, उससे मिलता-जुलता एक कमेंट मुझे मिला है, जिन्होंने हमसे एक सवाल पूछा है। प्रत्येक चिरायु जैन पूछना चाहते हैं, फॉर इंडियाज़ नंबर 6 इन T20Is has become an issue similar to ODI number 4. Is this the place where we can see guys like Rinku Singh, Ayush Padoni and Deepak Hooda? See, एक टाइम था जब इंडिया के पास इतना टैलेंट आ रहा था और हम लोग बहुत खुश हो रहे थे, विच इज लाइक वी आर ऑल्सो हैप्पी राइट नाउ कि इंडिया के पास इतना टैलेंट है कि दैट वी आर रियली हैविंग अ डिलेमा कि किसको खिलाना है किसको नहीं खिलाना है। बट आई थिंक एट पॉइंट एज फैंस वी आर टायर्ड ऑफ getting chopping and changing. A lot of players are coming in, they all are really good. यू कैन नॉट रियली डिसाइड कि यार इसको बैठा दो, भी दूसरे प्लेयर को ट्राई करते हैं. बट अभी ना वो डिलेमा एक्चुअल डिलेमा बन गया है. अभी वो इतना अच्छा पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू नहीं रह गया है कि आपके पास बहुत सारे ऑप्शंस है, बिकॉज वी आर टायर्ड. हमने संजू सैमसन को देखा है जो कि इतना प्रॉमिसिंग टैलेंट है, उनको बार बार मौका नहीं मिल पाता. अभी हम रिंकू सिंह को देख रहे हैं, आईपीएल में कितना जबरदस्त खेल करके आए हैं. हालांकि अब उनको मौका मिल रहा है, उनको एशियन गेम्स की टीम में रखा गया है, धीमे धीमे खेलेंगे. लेकिन मुझे लगता है जब तक हम उनका फुल यूटिलाइजेशन को आएंगे तब तक शायद उनकी वो एज निकल जाएगी. सो समटाइम्स मुझे लगता है कि इट इज नॉट दैट गुड एज वेल जो इतने ऑप्शंस होते हैं इंडिया के पास. बट व्हाट डू यू थिंक अबाउट दिस, प्रत्यय?
See, I think बिल्कुल इट्स अ फेयर पॉइंट बाय चिरायू, क्योंकि अगर आप देखें ओडीआई वर्ल्ड कप 2019 के पहले वो नंबर 4 का स्पॉट था, जहाँ पे बहुत ज़्यादा एक कंटेंशियस पोजीशन थी वो. देन यू ट्राइड आउट अ फ्यू ऑलराउंडर्स, Vijay Shankar and the likes, Ambati Rayudu going out of the setup, but it did not materialize. Still, it's a spot which hasn't really been filled if you talk about the ODI World Cup with KL Rahul's injury and Shreyas Iyyar's injury. So, of course, fingers crossed there. Similarly, of course, number 6 in T20Is is again becoming sort of a bone of contention for you, because you don't really, it's not that you have a dearth of players. I think that you correctly pointed out that you have to give the players a long rope. क्योंकि जब तक आप प्लेयर्स को एक लंबा समय नहीं देते हैं, अगर उनको ये डर रहेगा कि हम एक दो बार भी अगर फेल होते हैं और हमारी पोजीशन चली जाएगी, सो दैट इनसिक्योरिटी, it's not a very good space to be in. And
Right.
see, in India, it's always going to be a situation where for every single spot, there would be 3 to 4 players vying, for one single spot. And that too in the T20 setup, that is going to be all the more because you have the IPL, which is going to throw in, a bundle of talent every single year. So now you have Jitesh Sharma, you have Ayush Badoni, you have Rinku Singh. There are so many players who are, rising up the ranks. And
And
now,
sorry
of
to
course,
cut you here, Pratyay, even we have a backup for coach as well. If Rahul Dravid is not available, VVS Lakshman will go. So इस लेवल का कंपटीशन है इंडिया में कि हमारे पास कोच का भी पूरा पूरा सपोर्टिंग जो सपोर्ट स्टाफ है उसका भी बैकअप रेडी है. So मुझे लगता है उनको भी जॉब सिक्योरिटी की प्रॉब्लम होती होगी कि भाई अगर हम नहीं ठीक से करेंगे तो ठीक है, वी हैव अ बैकअप.
कि अच्छी चीज होती है वो कभी कभी, क्योंकि देखिए जितना क्रिकेट इंडिया खेलता है, it's very necessary for you have to have ample of backups, because see right now itself, so many of your players are they are rehabilitating at the NCA. Pant is injured because of his accident, so you have to have backups. See, having options is never bad, but as you said, see, when you have too many options, it kind of clutters your mind, because then you want whom to select, because so many players are performing. So every single time a test squad is selected, there are shouts and chants for Sarfaraz Khan. Now, when
Yeah.
you are seeing, a Rinku Singh coming, suddenly a group would want Jitesh Sharma to be a part of the team as well. So, see, ultimately, you have to play only 11. If you have 30 talents, if you have a good big pool of talents, it's a good luxury to have. And more often than not, you would hear that problem of plenty is a good thing to have. But that is exactly why becoming an Indian captain, becoming an Indian selector becomes difficult, increasingly difficult. IPL has actually, made the task even more complicated, because, like I said, every single year you would get at least three, four very bright young talents for each position. Maybe a good finisher would be just around the corner. You would get a top order batter. Now, Yashasvi Jaiswal is a great example. This year, the kind of IPL he had, and so many talents. If you start jotting down the names, how many players have actually made a space into the Indian team due to the IPL, list is going to be extremely long. So I think that yes, task is difficult, and of course there are plenty of contenders whom you can have. Jitesh Sharma, I personally liked him a lot, the way he batted. Ayush Badoni, couple of years this year was slightly under the radar for him, but otherwise, I think he has also been able to shine bright in the IPL. Rinku Singh, of course, you have to hail him for the manner in which he has played. So, of course, looking forward to him as well. So, plenty of options are there. But I think that what we need to make sure is that we don't do the mistakes that we have done in 2021, 2022 in the World Cup. Going with players like, dropping, say, for someone like Yuzvendra Chahal for Rahul Chahar, bringing in Varun Chakrabarti, and then suddenly those players are nowhere. Venkatesh Iyer is another player, who has been in and out. You're seeing what is happening to Rahul Tripathi. Hardik Pandya appraised him for the manner in which he batted, and suddenly he's out of the squad. So you have to come up with reasonable explanations, because being a selector, it's a very important position. It's a very important job, and if you are sitting on there, you questions will be asked, and we don't really get those many answers, because we don't really, we have a lot of questions, but we don't really get answers that why was Rahul Tripathi dropped, why has Sarfaraz not been given a chance. So there are plenty of questions, but then again, if you have to find out how the players are performing, how they are responding to the pressures of international cricket, there's only one way you can do that: give them a chance, give them an opportunity, and ask them to play. Check them. Maybe perhaps because of the breeding competition, you might not be able to give them a very long rope, but at least give them 5-7 games on the trot. Because if you are dropping players after 2 or 3 failures, then you will never be able to make good players in the long run. So I think that yes, all these players should be tried on tours like Ireland, on tours like West Indies, Asian Games. Send in seconds in squads, see which are the top performers from those, and then maybe try to bring them in the first choice team.
राइट, जस्ट लाइक इंडियन सिलेक्टर्स, अब हम लोग के लिए भी बहुत डिफिकल्टी हुई थी प्लेयर्स टू वॉच आउट ढूंढने की, बट हम फिर भी ढूंढ के लाए हैं आपके लिए। इंडिया और वेस्ट इंडीज के एंड से ऐसे कौन से प्लेयर्स हैं जो वॉच आउट हो सकते हैं? इंडिया के एंड से शुभमन गिल, व्हेनेवर ही इज इन द 11 डेफिनेटली ही इज दैट प्लेयर टू वॉच आउट। उन्होंने अभी तक 7 मैचेस खेले हैं, उन्होंने 205 रन्स बनाए हैं, 34.16 का उनका एवरेज है, और इसके अलावा स्ट्राइक रेट 156.48 का है। बहुत ही इंपैक्टफुल प्लेयर है, कभी भी मैच चेंज कर सकते हैं, और इंडिया को उनसे आज काफी उम्मीदें होंगी। वही अब बात करते हैं वेस्ट इंडीज के एंड से, तो विंडीज के एंड से कौन से प्लेयर हैं? दैट इज ब्रैंडन किंग। 36 मैचेस उन्होंने अभी तक खेले हैं, 832 रन्स बनाए हैं, एवरेज इज 26, 130 का उनका स्ट्राइक रेट है। तो ये है हमारे 2 प्लेयर्स टू वॉच आउट। प्रत्येक, क्या आप ऐड करना चाहेंगे इंडिया और वेस्ट इंडीज के एंड से एक और प्लेयर, जस्ट टू हैव अ लुक ऑन इट, और उनसे हम उम्मीद कर सकते हैं आज?
सी शुभमन गिल, ऑफ कोर्स आई थिंक जिस तरीके का उनका फॉर्म रहा है इस पूरे साल इन दी आईपीएल एज वेल, उसके आगे पीछे भी डबल सेंचुरी, टेस्ट में भी उन्होंने सेंचुरी मार दी बॉर्डर गावस्कर ट्रॉफी में, ये साल बहुत अच्छा रहा है उनके लिए। लेकिन ऑफ लेट उनका थोड़ा सा आईपीएल के बाद से जो उनके परफॉर्मेंसेज आए वो उतने अच्छे नहीं रहे। बट मोर देन हिम, आई थिंक दैट आई वुड बी कीपिंग एन आई ऑन ईशान किशन, फॉर द सिंपल रीजन दैट अगर आप उनका फॉर्म देखें, ही वाज परफॉर्मिंग एक्सीडिंगली वेल इन द ओडीआई सीरीज, हैट्रिक ऑफ हाफ सेंचुरीज, and that was a very, very good performance. But in similar vein, his T20I career hasn't really hit the straps yet. The kind of performances that he has shown at the Mumbai Indians, or the kind of performance you would expect from a batter of his characteristic, because we know that he is an aggressive batter, brings in the left-handedness, gives you a wicket-keeper option. So if he can actually start to score consistently in this format, and give those kind of belligerent start that you really want from your top order batters or from your opener, he is one of the players which you can actually invest 4-5 years in, because he's young. Like I said, that he gives you a wicket keeper option, so he is giving you left-handedness, he's giving you wicket keeper option. So it's not just a top order batter, he's ticking 2, 3 or 4 boxes at the same time. And in the Indian team right now, if you are diverse, if you are multifaceted, the chance of you to survive the competition increases that much more, because you are doing more than your primary role. You're giving to the team something else than what your primary role is. That is why the importance of all-rounders, that is why bowlers who can bat, that is why batters who can bowl. So if you are giving those options, you become an important player. So I think Ishan Kishan, he would be disappointed given the fact that he has the ability to bat aggressively. He hasn't really been able to convert those starts. He hasn't been able to spend that much time in the middle. And I think this series is very important for him, because of course, that West Indies tracks are slightly sluggish. They are slightly challenging. For someone like an Ishan Kishan, who would perhaps want, who would want a little bit of pace on the ball, would want to value of shots. Maybe in that regard, he's not going to get that much value batting in West Indies. But like I said, given the fact that you are going to play the World Cup next year in these very conditions, in these kind of venues, on these kind of tracks, it is very important for you to grab every single opportunity which is coming your way. So I think that Ishan Kishan is definitely one of the players to watch out for. As for Brandon King, I think he had a quiet series in the ODIs, hasn't really been able to fire that much. And T20Is, yes, his strike rate up and down, the kind of expectations you have from a top order batter, even he hasn't really been able to justify that much to that extent. So if he can get some runs and get a bit of start, because see, West Indies in general, is a side which is struggling. If you look at the test side, if you look at ODI now failing to qualify for the ODI World Cup, but when it comes to this format, this is the format in which they feel home, because this is their strongest suit. The kind of players they produce, if you look at the franchise circuits, everywhere you will find West Indian players, because they kind of produce those kind of talents. So if you are not performing well in this format as well, then you would be completely eroded off the cricketing circuit, because Test cricket is in the tatters. ODI cricket, you haven't even been able to qualify for the World Cup. So T20I cricket is something which they have to very firmly hold. Otherwise, you really don't have anywhere else to watch. So I think West Indies under pressure as well. Good thing for them that they have made a winning start. And if their batters can perform and do something good today, then of course 2-0 lead, then it puts India in a spot of bother, because then they have to win all 3 games. So I think that yes, they would also definitely want to perform well.
चलिए, अब इसी के साथ और इंतज़ार नहीं करते हैं, प्लेइंग 11 पे एक बार नज़र डाल लेते हैं कि इंडिया और वेस्ट इंडीज़ के एंड से आफ्टर द टॉस दोनों ही कैप्टन्स ने क्या 11 अनाउंस करी है। तो ये आप देख सकते हैं इंडिया का प्लेइंग 11 ईशान किशन, शुभमन गिल, सूर्य कुमार यादव, तिलक वर्मा, हार्दिक पांड्या, संजू सैमसन, अक्षर पटेल, अर्शदीप सिंह, युजवेंद्र चहल, मुकेश कुमार एंड रवि बिश्नोई। अब अगर वेस्ट इंडीज़ के एंड से बात करें तो उनकी प्लेइंग 11 कैसी दिखाई पड़ रही है, ये भी देख लेते हैं। ब्रैंडन किंग, काइल मेयर्स, जॉनसन चार्ल्स, निकोलस पूरन, रोमन पॉवेल, शिमरन हेटमायर, रोमेरो शेफर्ड, जेसन होल्डर, अकील हुसैन, अल्जारी जोसफ और ओबिड मैकॉय। सो इसी के साथ ये जो 11 हम लोगों ने यहाँ पर नजर डाली, बिश्नोई है कुलदीप की जगह, क्योंकि कुलदीप इंजर्ड है। तो आपको ये इन्फॉर्मेशन हमने दे दी। प्रत्येक द टाइम व्हेन वी वर टॉकिंग अबाउट दिस कि नेक्स्ट ईयर T20 वर्ल्ड कप है और हमें सेम कंडीशंस में खेलना है, तो मतलब मुझे कहीं ना कहीं ये बात सच लग रही है कि वाकई हम ये मान ले कि अब T20 सर्किट में रोहित और विराट कोहली का कोई रोल नहीं रह गया है। बिकॉज इस कंडीशंस में अगर आप अपने प्लेयर्स को ट्राई आउट कर रहे हैं और रोहित और विराट कोहली उसका पार्ट नहीं है, विच मीन्स कि ये सच है कि अगले साल वो नहीं होने वाले हैं T20 वर्ल्ड कप में।
See, I don't think that will happen, at least not in the next T20 World Cup, because only today Rohit Sharma has said that he will be playing the next World Cup. So I think that is positive news for his fans. And I think that he is your captain. So I would be surprised if Rohit and Virat, and definitely not Virat Kohli, because see, no matter, there is certain criticism with so many new players coming in, age not being on their sides. Because see, if you're looking towards the future, you would want to back the players who are 20, 24, 23, instead of players who are 35, 36 and nearing towards their career end. So yeah, that there is one school of thought which would perhaps say that okay, fine, let's keep them to the longer formats and let's give, because in the recent past, if you see in the last year, since August or so, when last India toured Ireland for a couple of T20Is when Hardik Pandya was leading, ever since then you haven't really seen these players playing a lot of T20I cricket. Every single time you have gotten a chance to play T20I cricket, it's more of a case where you are sending second sim squads with Hardik Pandya as the captain. Now you know that Jasprit Bumrah is going to lead against the upcoming Ireland in the upcoming Ireland series. So yes, they have kind of taken a backseat, which is good in a sense, because see, they are not short on experience. They have played so much cricket that before the World Cup, if they play 2 or 3 series, they will get their competitive juices flowing. They will be warmed up nicely and they can go and play the World Cup. What you have to do right now is that you have to give opportunities to the youngsters who haven't got international game time or who haven't got game time in general, so that they are prepared for these situations. And if you play Virat Kohli in this T20, I see, like, I kind of agree with what Rahul Dravid said. Of course, there's a lot of criticism because you don't expect India to lose no matter where they go. And if they are losing against West Indies, then of course criticism is going to come your way. But when he said that you can't look at every game the same way, and if you focus on every game like you have to win every single game, you would perhaps end out, you'll miss out on something important, and that is you have to build players. See, I'm not saying that this series is inconsequential. Of course, it has consequences because 5 T20Is in a venue at a place where you are going to play World Cup next year, it's of course important. But it is important, and you have to make important calls as well. And the only way you will be able to do that is by making those players play whom you perhaps want in your eventual squad. If you play Virat Kohli, a veteran of over 100 T20Is, it is not really going to give you a lot. Guys who have played 90, 80, 100 games, it is not really fetching you anything as such. If you're giving chances to the Jaiswals, to the Gills, to the Kishans, it might as well give you something which you can take to the World Cup. So it is a correct call to be for them to be rested. But I still think that you can't really field this kind of an 11, such an inexperienced one, in a tournament like World Cup. So you have to have experience. And not to forget the fact that, yes, in the IPL, they haven't really had the best of times. But pace wise or everything wise, if you look at the Pacers, you do not have Shami in the series. You don't have Bumrah. All those players will come in. You will have Shreyas Iyer. You will have KL Rahul coming back as well. So you have to make a judicious mix of, say, experience and youth. You can't send this kind of a squad to a World Cup. That's for sure. So I won't completely bench them, but yes, you can say that yes, the career for them in the T20Is is more towards the end. Maybe 2024 World Cup would be their last. I don't see them playing another T20 World Cup, and gradually they will be phased out with all these players gaining experience and taking the team forward.
चलिए, कम से कम एक वर्ल्ड कप अगर देखने को मिल जाए तो भी हमारे लिए बहुत होगा, बिकॉज़ हम सभी को पता है कि अभी रोहित और विराट कोहली में बहुत क्रिकेट बाकी है। सो अभी ये तो बातें करनी भी नहीं चाहिए। बट 5 मिनट में शुरू होगा मुकाबला, इसके पहले एक बार देख लेते हैं सोशल ट्रैकर पर किस तरीके से बातचीत चल रही है ट्विटर की दुनिया में। लोग क्या डिस्कस कर रहे हैं अबाउट दिस मैच। और ये हमारा पहला ट्वीट, दिस मीम नेवर गेट्स ओल्ड, हार्दिक पांड्या सेड वी कैन पिक टू मोर टीम्स एंड विद एनी कंपटीशन इन द वर्ल्ड। सो लास्ट टाइम हार्दिक पांड्या ने जब कहा था कि हम किसी भी कंपटीशन को जीत सकते हैं, बहुत सारे कॉम्बिनेशंस बना सकते हैं, बट रिजल्ट हमें देखने को मिल रहा है कंटिन्यूअसली इंडिया टीम के साथ कैसा चल रहा है। लेट्स टेक अ लुक एट अनदर ट्वीट। CricTracker का ये ट्वीट है, योर ओपनर्स फॉर द सेकंड T20I अगेंस्ट वेस्ट इंडीज, और यहाँ आपके सामने 3 ऑप्शंस है। कमेंट सेक्शन में जाकर के आप बता सकते हैं कि आपके हिसाब से बेस्ट ओपनिंग पार्टनरशिप इंडिया के लिए क्या हो सकती है। अब देखते हैं अगला ट्वीट। ईशान किशन एंड सूर्य कुमार यादव हैव कंट्रास्टिंग सिनेरियोज इन ODIs एंड T20Is। आकाश चोपड़ा का ये स्टेटमेंट है, ईशान किशन's नंबर इन T20Is आर नॉट लुकिंग गुड, just like Surya Kumar Yadav in ODIs, ईशान किशन in T20Is it is going something like that only। और बहुत ही अच्छा दोनों का ग्राफ पकड़ा है, हम लोग अभी बात भी कर रहे थे सूर्य कुमार यादव और ईशान किशन को लेकर के, और यहाँ पर उनका ये दोनों ही ग्राफ आपके सामने, आप सभी जानते हैं। मुझे लगता है रोल रिवर्सल कर देना चाहिए, शायद बहुत अच्छा होगा दोनों के लिए। बट देखते हैं, अपने आखिरी ट्वीट की तरफ नजर डालते हैं। मोस्ट T20I विकेट सिंस 2022 फॉर इंडिया, अर्शदीप ने 43 विकेट्स लिए हैं, जो कि आज के इस टीम में भी है, इंडिया टीम के एंड से, और होप करेंगे कि वो काफी सारे विकेट लें और इंडिया टीम को सपोर्ट करें। इसके अलावा भुवनेश्वर कुमार, यूजी चहल, हार्दिक पांड्या और हर्षल पटेल, ये हैं वो 5 खिलाड़ी जिन्होंने सबसे ज्यादा इंडिया के लिए लास्ट ईयर में विकेट लिए हैं। अब जैसे कि मैंने आप लोगों को बोला था कि पिछले 5 मिनट में, अब जो आने वाले 5 मिनट है वहां मुकाबला शुरू हो जाएगा, तो अपना लाइव हमें यहीं एंड करना होगा। बट आई होप कि ये जो सेकंड T20 है इंडिया काफी बेहतर करे, और उसका डिस्कशन और उसकी सारी जानकारी के लिए आप क्रिक ट्रैकर की वेबसाइट पर जा सकते हैं। आप हमारा सोशल मीडिया फॉलो कर सकते हैं टू नो बॉल टू बॉल इन्फॉर्मेशन, और जो भी इन्फॉर्मेशन रिक्वायर्ड है एज फैंस आप सबके लिए। तब तक आप बने रहिए, देखते रहिए क्रिक ट्रैकर्स इन दी एयर शो। हम लौटेंगे आपके साथ थर्ड T20I में। थैंक यू सो मच प्रत्यय फॉर ज्वाइनिंग मी हियर।